Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Magnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Risabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhupya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashattaya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Haribo. So welcome to the reading session, Prabhus. I think we have only one chapter left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 12 pages. So I think everyone can read one page. Here the page cuts. So let's change always after this, okay? Okay, I can read the first page. 7.4 Evolution in Fact and Fantasy. Los Angeles, June 1972. Srila Prabhupada asserts that Darwin's theory of evolution is inconclusive and illogical, but Darwin's is not the only theory of evolution. The Vedas explain that an evolutionary process governs the progress of the soul. We accept evolution, Srila Prabhupada says, but not that the forms of the species are changing. The bodies are all already there, but the soul is evolving by changing bodies and by transmigrating from one body to another. The defect of the evolutionists is that they have no information of the soul. Devotee. Darwin tried to show how the origin of living species could be fully explained by the purely mechanical, unplanned action of natural forces. By the process he called natural selection, all the higher complex forms of life gradually evolved from more primitive and rudimentary ones. In a given animal population, for example, some individuals will have some traits that make them adapt better to their environment. These more fit individuals will survive to pass on their favorable traits to their offspring. The unfit will gradually be weeded out naturally. Thus, a cold climate will favor those who have, say, long hair or fatty tissue, and the species will then gradually evolve in that direction. Srila Prabhupada, the question is that in the development of the body, is there any plan that a particular kind of body with, as you say, long hair or fatty tissue should exist under certain natural conditions? Who has made these arrangements? That is the question. Devotee. No one. Modern evolutionists ultimately base their theory on the existence of chance variations. Srila Prabhupada, that is nonsense. There is no such thing as chance. If they say chance, then they are nonsense. Our question remains, who has created the different circumstances for the existence of different kinds of animals? Devotee. For example, a frog may lay thousands of eggs, but out of all of them, only a few may survive to adulthood. Those who do are more fit than the others. If the environment did not favorably select the fittest, then too many frogs, Prabhupada. Yes, frogs and many other animals lay eggs by the hundreds, as snakes gives birth to scores of snakes at a time. And if all were allowed to exist, there would be a great disturbance. Therefore, big snakes devour the small snakes. That is nature's law. But behind nature's law is a brain. That is our proposition. Nature's law is not blind, for behind it there is a brain, and that brain is God. We learned this from the Bhagavad Gita 9:10. Maya dakshena prakriti shuyate sacharacharam. Whatever is taking place in material nature is being directed by the Supreme Lord, who maintains everything in order. So the snake lays eggs by the score, and if many were not killed, the world would be overwhelmed by snakes. Similarly, male tigers kill the cubs. The economic theory of Malthus states that whenever there is overpopulation, there must be an outbreak of war, epidemic, famine, or the like to curb it. These natural activities do not take place by chance, but are planned. Anyone who says that they are a matter of chance has insufficient knowledge. Devotee. But Darwin has a huge amount of evidence. Srila Prabhupada. Evidence? That is all right. We have also got evidence. Evidence must be there, but as soon as there is evidence, there should be no talk of chance. Devotee. For example, out of millions of frogs, one may happen to be better adapted to living in the water. Prabhupada. But that is not by chance, that is by plan. He doesn't know that. As soon as one says chance, it means his knowledge is imperfect. A man says chance when he cannot explain. It is evasive. So the conclusion is that he is without perfect knowledge and therefore unfit for giving any knowledge. He is cheating, that's all. Well, Darwin sees a plan or design in a sense, but Prabhupada, if he sees a plan or design, then whose design? As soon as you recognize a design, you must acknowledge a designer. If you see a plan, then you must accept the planner. That he does not know. Devotee. But the plan is only the involuntary working of nature. Prabhupada, nonsense. There is a plan. The sun rises daily according to exact calculation. It does not follow our calculation. Rather, we calculate according to the sun, experiencing that in such and such season the sun rises at such and such time. We learn that according to the season the sun rises exactly on the minute, the second. It is not by whimsy or chance, but by minute plan. Hare Krishna. Okay, anyone can read the next page.
Hare Krishna. Devotee, but can't you say it's just mechanical? Srila Prabhupada. Then who made it mechanical? If something is mechanical, then there must be a mechanic, a brain, who made the machine. Here is something mechanical. Srila Prabhupada points to a telex machine. Who made it? This machine has not come out by itself. It is made of iron, and the iron did not mold itself into a machine. There is a brain who made the machine possible. So everything in nature has a plan or design, and behind that plan or design is a big brain, a very big brain. Devotee. Darwin tried to make the appearance and disappearance of living forms seem so natural and involuntary that God is removed from the picture. Evolutionary theory makes it appear as if combinations of material ingredients created life, and then various species evolved one from another naturally. Srila Prabhupada, that is foolishness. Combination means God. God is combining. Combination does not take place automatically. Suppose I am cooking. There are many ingredients gathered for cooking, but they do not combine together by themselves. I am the cooker, and in cooking, I combine together ghee, spices, rice, dal, and so on. And in this way, nice dishes are produced. Similarly, the combination of ingredients in nature requires God. Otherwise, how does the moment arise in which the combination takes place? Do you place all the ingredients in the kitchen and in an hour come back and say, "Oh, where is my meal?" Nonsense. Who will cook your meal? You will starve. You will starve. But take help of a living being, and then we will cook and we can eat. This is our experience. So, if there is a combination, then who is combining? They are fools not to know how combination takes place. Devotee. Scientists now say life arose out of four basic elements: carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen. Srila Prabhupada. If the basic principle is chemicals, who made the chemicals? That question should be asked. Devotee, isn't it possible that one day science will discover the source of these chemicals? Srila Prabhupada, there is no question of discovering. The answer is already known. Although it may not be known to you, we know. The Vedanta says, Janmadi Asya Yata, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1. The origin source of everything is Brahman, Krishna. Krishna says, Aham Sarvasya Prabho Matta Sarvam Pravartate. I am the origin of everything. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10.8. So we know that there is a big brain who is doing everything. We know. The scientists may not know. That is their foolishness. Devotee. They might say the same thing about us. Srila Prabhupada. No, they cannot say the same thing about us. We accept Krishna, but not blindly. Our predecessors, the great acharyas and learned scholars, have accepted Krishna as the origin of everything. So we are not following blindly. We claim that Krishna is the origin, and we claim that Krishna is the origin. But what claim can the scientist make? As soon as he says chance, it means that he has no knowledge. We don't say chance. We have an original cause, but he says chance. Therefore, he has no knowledge. Devotee. They tried to trace back the origin by means of excavation, and they have found that gradually, through the years, the animal forms are evolving towards increasingly more complex and specialized forms, from invertebrates to fishes, and then to amphibians, then to reptiles and insects, to mammals and birds, and finally to humans. In that process, many species, like the dinosaurs, appeared, flourished, and then disappeared forever, became extinct. Eventually, primitive ape-like creatures appeared, and from them, man gradually developed. Srila Prabhupada is the theory that the human body comes from the monkeys. Devotee, human and monkeys are related. They come from the same. Srila Prabhupada, related. Everything is related. That is another thing. But if the monkey body is developing into a human body, then way after the human body is developed, doesn't the monkey species cease to exist? Devotee, the human and the monkeys are branches of the same tree. Srila Prabhupada, yes, and both are now existing. Similarly, we say that at the time the evolutionists say life began, there were human beings existing. Devotee, they find no evidence for that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, who wants to read next page? Thank you, Vishnu Prabhu. Haribol.
I can read if it's okay.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, why no evidence? Devotee in the ground by excavation. They find no evidence in the ground. Srila Prabhupada, is the ground the only evidence? Is there no other evidence? Devotee, the only evidence they accept is the testimony of their senses. Srila Prabhupada, but they still cannot prove that there was no human being at the time they say life originated. They cannot prove that. Devotee, it appears that in certain layers of earth there are remains of ape-like men. Srila Prabhupada, ape-like men or man-like apes are still existing now, alongside human beings. If one thing has been developed by the transformation of another thing, then that original thing should no longer be in existence. When in this way a cause has produced its effect, the cause ceases to exist. But in this case, we see that the cause is still present, that there are still monkeys and apes. Devotee, but monkeys did not cause men. Both came from the same common ancestor. That is their account. Srila Prabhupada, we say that we all come from God, the same ancestor, the same father. The original father is Krishna. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 14.4, Sarvayonishu Kaunteya. Of as many forms as there are, Aham Bija Pradapita. I am the seed-giving father. So what is your objection to this? Devotee. Well, if I examine the layers of earth, I find in the deepest layers no evidence. Srila Prabhupada, you are packed up with layers of earth, that's all. That is the boundary of your knowledge, but that is not knowledge. There are many other evidences. Devotee, but surely if men were living millions of years ago, they would have left evidence, tangible evidence behind them. I could see their remains. Srila Prabhupada. So I say that in human society, bodies are burned after death, cremated. So where does your excavator get his bones? Devotee, well, that's possible, but Srila Prabhupada, according to our Vedic system, the body is burned to ashes after death. Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Anyone?
Hare Krishna, Prabhus. Harish Prabhu or Sujay Prabhu, can you read next?
Where therefore would the rascal get the bones? Animals are not burnt, their bones remain. But human beings are burnt, and therefore they cannot find their bones. Devotee. I'm just saying that it happens. It appears through layers after layer of deposits in the earth that biological forms run to progress from simple and primitive forms to more and more complex and specialized ones until finally civilized man appears. Srila Prabhupada. But at the present moment, both simple and complex forms are existing. One did not develop into the other. For example, my childhood body has developed into my adult body, and the child's body is no longer there. So if the higher complex species developed from the simpler lower species, then we should see no simple species, but all species are now existing simultaneously. When I see all 8,400,000 species of life existing, what is the question of development? Each species exists now, and it existed long ago. You might not have seen it, but you have no proper source of knowledge. You might have missed it. That is another thing. Devotee. But all the evidence shows otherwise. 500 million years ago, there were no land animals, there were only aquatics. Srila Prabhupada. That is nonsense. You cannot give a history of 500 million years. Where is the history of 500 million years? You are simply imagining. You say historical evidences, but where is your evidence? You cannot give a history for more than 300 years, and you are speaking about 500 million. This is all nonsense. Devotee. If I dig far into the ground, layer by layer, Shlopada, by dirt, you are calculating 500 million years. It could be 10 years. You cannot give history of human society past 300 years. So how can you speak of 500 or 500 million years ago? Where were you then? Where were you there? So you can say that all these species were not there. This is imagination. In this way, everyone can imagine and say some nonsense. We accept evolution, but not that the forms of the species are changing. The bodies are already there, but the soul is evolving by changing bodies and by transmigrating from one body to another. I have evolved from my childhood body to my adult body, and now my childhood body is extinct. But there are many other children. Similarly, all the species are now existing simultaneously, and they were all there in the past. For example, if you are traveling in a train, you find first class, second class, third class, they're all existing. If you pay a higher fare and enter the first class carriage, we cannot say now the first class is created. It was always existing. So defect of the evolutionist is that they have no information of the soul. The soul is evolving, transmigrating from one compartment to another compartment, simply changing place. The Padma Purana says that there are 8,400,000 species of life and the soul evolves through them. This evolutionary process, we accept the soul evolves from aquatics to plants to insects to birds to animals and then to the human forms. But all these forms are already there. They do not change. One does not become extinct and another survive. All of them are existing simultaneously. Devotee. But Darwin says there are many species like dinosaurs that are seen to be extinct. Srila Prabhupada, what has been seen is not so powerful that he can see everywhere or everything. His power to see is limited, and by that limited power, he cannot conclude that one species is extinct. That is not possible. No scientist will accept that. After all the senses by which you gather knowledge are limited. So how can you say this is finished or this is extinct? You cannot see. You cannot search out. The Earth's circumference is 25,000 miles. Have you searched through all the layers of rock and soil over the whole Earth? Have you excavated all those places? Devotee, no. Can someone continue?
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhu, thank you for reading. Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, our first charge against Darwin is this. He says that were no human beings millions of years ago. There were no human beings millions of years ago. That is not a fact. We now see a human beings existing along with all other species, and it should be concluded that the situation always existed. Human life has always been there. Darwin cannot say there was no human life. Devotee, we don't see any dinosaurs existing. Prabhupada, you do not see because you have no power to see. Your senses are very limited. So what you see or don't see cannot be authoritative. So many people, the majority of people say, I don't see God. Shall we accept then that there is no God? Are we crazy for being devotees of God? Devotee, no, but dinosaurs. Prabhupada, but simply by dinosaurs being missing, you cannot make your case. What about all other species? Devotee, many others are also extinct. Prabhupada, say I accept that many are extinct, because the evolutionary process means that as an earlier species gradually changes into a later species, the earlier vanishes, becomes extinct. But we see that many monkeys are still there. Man evolved from the simians, but simians have not disappeared. Monkeys are here and men are here. Devotee, but still I'm not convinced. If we make geological investigations all over the world, not just here and there, but in many parts of the world, and in every case we find the same thing. Prabhupada, but I say you have not studied all over the world. Has Darwin studied all the continents of this planet? He has gone down into the depths of the sea. Has he gone down into the depths of the seas and there excavated all the layers of the earth? No, so his knowledge is imperfect. This is the relative world, and here everyone speaks with relative knowledge. Therefore, we should accept knowledge from a person who is not within this relativity. Devotee, actually Darwin hit upon his theory because of what he observed on his voyage in 1835 on the Galapagos Islands of the coast of South America. He found there species that exist nowhere else. Srila Prabhupada, that means he has not seen all the species. He has not traveled all over the universe. He has seen one island, but he has not seen the whole creation. How can he determine what species exist and don't exist? He has studied one part of this earth, but there are many millions of planets. He has not seen all of them. He has not excavated the depths of all the planets. So how can he conclude this is nature? He has not seen everything, nor is it possible for any human being to see everything. Devotee, let's just confine ourselves to this planet. Prabhupada, no, why should we? Nature is not only on this planet. Devotee, because you say that on this planet there were complex forms of living beings millions and millions of years ago. Prabhupada, we are not talking about this planet, but about anywhere. You are referring to nature. Nature is not limited or confined to this planet. You cannot say that. Nature, material nature, includes millions of universes, and in each and every universe there are millions of planets. If you have studied only this planet, your knowledge is insufficient. Hare Krishna. Okay, who wants to read next?
Hare Krishna. Devotee, but you said before that millions of years ago on this planet there were horses, elephants, civilized men. Srila Prabhata, yes. Devotee, but from hundreds of different sources there is no evidence. Srila Prabhata, I say they are existing now. Men, horses, snakes, insects, trees. So why not millions of years ago? Devotee, because there is no evidence. Srila Prabhata, that does not mean you limit your study to one planet. That is not full knowledge. Devotee, I just want to find out for the time being about Srila Prabhata. Why the time being? If you are not perfect in your knowledge, then why should I accept your theory? That is my point. Devotee, well, if you claim that millions of years ago there were complex forms of life on this planet, Srila Prabhupada, whether on this planet or on another planet, that is not the point. The point is that all species exist and keep on existing by the arrangement of nature. We learn from the Vedic text that there are 84 lakh species established. They may be in your neighborhood or they may be in my neighborhood, or the number and types are fixed. But if you simply study your neighborhood, it is not perfect knowledge. Evolution we admit, but your evolutionary theory is not perfect. Our theory of evolution is perfect. From the Vedas, we know that there are 84 lakh forms of bodies provided by nature, but the soul is the same in all, in spite of the different types of body. There is no change in the soul, and therefore the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, 18th verse says that one who is wise, a Pandita, does not a little more does not see the species or the class. He sees oneness, equality. Pandita Samadarshina, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, 18th verse. One who sees to the bottom sees the soul, and he does not find there any difference between all these species. Devotee. So Darwin and other material scientists who have no information about the soul. Srila Prabhupada, they are missing the whole point. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, who wants to be next?
I can continue if you want to.
Hare Krishna.
Devotee, they say that all living things tend to evolve from lower to higher in the history of the earth. Srila Prabhupada, that may be accepted. For example, in an apartment building, there are different kinds of apartments. First class apartments, second class apartments, third class apartments. According to your desire and qualification, as you are fit to pay the rent, you are allowed to move up to the better apartments. But the different apartments are already there. They are not evolving. The residents are evolving by moving to new apartments as they desire. Devotee, as they desire. Srila Prabhupada. Yes, according to our mentality at the time of death, we get another apartment, another body, but the apartment is already there. Not that I am creating the apartment. And the classes of apartments are fixed at 84 lakh. Just like the hotel keeper, he has experience of his customers coming and wanting different kinds of facilities. So he made all sorts of accommodations to oblige all kinds of customers. Similarly, this is God's creation. He knows how far a living entity can think. So he has made all these different species accordingly. When God thinks, come on, come here, nature obliges. Prakritaye kriyamanani gunai karmani. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, 27 verse. Nature is offering facility, God. Krishna is sitting in the heart of the living entity as Paramatma, and he knows he wants this. So the Lord orders nature, give him this apartment, and nature obliges, yes, come on, here is your apartment. That is the real explanation. Devotee. I understand and accept that, but I am still puzzled as to why there is no geological evidence that in former times on this planet there were more complex forms. Srila Prabhupada, why are you taking geological evidence as final? Is it final? Science is progressing. You cannot say it's final. Devotee, but I have excavated all parts of the world, and every time, Srila Prabhupada, no, you have not excavated all parts of the world. Devotee, well, on 7 continents, Srila Prabhupada, 7 continents is not the whole world. You say you have excavated the whole world, but we say no, not even an insignificant portion. So your knowledge is limited. Dr. Frog has examined his 3-foot wide well, and now he claims to know the ocean. Experimental knowledge is always imperfect because one experiments with imperfect senses. Therefore, scientific knowledge must be imperfect. Our source of knowledge is different. We do not depend on experimental knowledge. Now you see no dinosaurs, nor have I seen all the 84 lakh different forms of life. But my source of knowledge is different. You are an experimenter with imperfect senses. I have taken knowledge from the perfect person who has seen everything, who knows everything. Therefore, my knowledge is perfect. Say, for example, that I receive knowledge from my mother. Here is your father, but you are trying to search out your father on your own. You don't go to your mother and ask, you just search and search. Therefore, no matter how much you search, your knowledge will always remain imperfect. Devotee. And your knowledge says that millions of years ago there were higher forms of life on this planet. Srila Prabhupada. Oh yes, because our Vedic information is that the first created being is the most intelligent, the most intellectual person within the universe, Lord Brahma, the cosmic engineer. So how can we accept your theory that intellect develops by evolution? We have received our Vedic knowledge from Brahma, who is so perfect. Dr. Frog has studied his 3-foot well, his little reservoir of water. The Atlantic Ocean is also a reservoir of water, but there is a vast difference. Dr. Frog cannot inform us about the Atlantic Ocean, but we take knowledge from the one who has made the Atlantic Ocean. So our knowledge is perfect, devotee. But wouldn't there be evidence in the earth, some remains? Srila Prabhupada, our evidence is intelligence, not stones and bones. Our evidence is intelligence. We get Vedic information by disciplic succession from the most intelligent. It is coming down by Shruti, hearing. Vyasadeva heard from Narada. Narada heard from Brahma millions and millions of years ago. Millions and millions of our years pass, and it is not even one day for Brahma. So millions and billions and trillions of years are not very astonishing to us, for that is not even one day of Brahma. But Brahma was born of Krishna, and intelligent philosophy has been existing in our universe from the date of Brahma's birth. Brahma was first educated by God, and his knowledge has been passed down to us in the Vedic literature. So we get such intelligent information in the Vedas. But those so-called scientists and philosophers who do not follow this system of descending knowledge, who do not accept knowledge thus received from higher authorities, they can't have any perfect knowledge, no matter what research work they carry out with their blunt senses. So whatever they say, we take it as imperfect. Our method is different from theirs. They are searching after dead bones, and we are searching after living brains. This point should be stressed. They are dealing with dead bones, and we are dealing with living brains. So which should be considered better? I think it's all, bro. Very poor.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Okay, now
Yes,
let's
bro.
become prayers. चेतो दर्पणमार्जनं भवमहादावाग्निर्वापनं श्रेयः कैरवचन्द्रिका वितरणं विद्यावादू जीवनम् आनन्दं बुद्धिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतस्वादनं सर्वात्मा स्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्णसङ्कीर्तनम्
नाम्नामकारि बहुधानि च सर्वशक्तिस्तत्रार्पिता नियमिता स्मरणेन काल एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवमिदृशाम् इहाजनिनानुरागा
नादपि सुनीचेन तरोरपि सहिष्णुना अमानिना मानतेन कीर्तनीया सदा हरि
न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितां वा जगदीशकामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवताद् भक्तिरहैतुकी त्वयि
ऐनन्दतनुज किङ्करं पतितां मां विषमे भवाम्बुधौ कृपया तव पादपङ्कजस्थितधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तय
नयनं गलदश्रुधारय वदनं गद्गदहृदया गिर पुलकैर्निशितं वपुकदा तव नामे ग्रहणे भविष्यति
युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्राविर्ष्यायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे
आश्रित्य वा पादरतां विनष्टु माम् अदर्शनान् मर्महतां करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विदधातु लम्पटो मत्प्राणनादस्तु स एव नापरः
Haribo. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth.
O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet.
O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name?
O Govinda, feeling your separation, some considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally.
हरि बोल श्री शिक्षाष्टकम की जाए, हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जाए, पंचतत्व की जाए, नित्यानंद प्रभु की जाए, श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जाए, जगत गुरु श्रील भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जाए, निताय गौर प्रेमानंद। हरि हरि
Hari Hari.